How's it going?
Good. How you doing, Carolyn?
Doing pretty good. I'm
Good.
done with stuff for the week, so that's always nice.
Nice.
How's your week going?
Oh, just waiting for it to be over.
I hear you. Hey, Spencer. How's it going?
How's it going?
Pretty good.
Glad we could all meet on another day here.
Yeah, that ended up working out for me, so that was fine.
hmm
Yeah, I don't want to be the first one to say I couldn't make it, so thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
No worries. This one actually needs a bunch of people, so once like a couple people, I'm
Yeah.
like, it won't work with just like two people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spencer, how's that weather up there?
Not too
Up
bad. We
where?
had some good sunshine.
Yeah, it's been
It's
warm
like-
up here.
And we had a high of 67 today. It was gorgeous out.
Oh, are you coming up here? Come here. Say hi.
Oh,
Say hi.
Hi.
hello, little one.
And just started waving at people all the time now.
Wave. You can do it. She's just being shy.
Shy.
Wave. There you go. Yeah. Usually she's in bed when we do this, so come on.
Oh, that was
Okay.
a big deal.
Yeah, can you go back to mama? Can't go do your drawings. Okay. Love you.
So should we go ahead and dive in?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Do it.
So this week we get to apparently do a little bit of role playing for our meeting, I guess. We're supposed to pretend that basically, so the case was about the unpopular pay plan at the company, and we're supposed to assume different characters and then kind of discuss like we were in the meeting. So the only person that we for sure need to have as, I know we have to have Sid, and then other than that, you guys can pretty much pick who you want to be, and then you guys get some time to kind of read over it to check out their part. So I don't know if you guys have any preferences. I'm up for whichever. I get to be Gil, I guess. So that should be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blast.
I do
Um,
enjoy being the boss. That is fun.
So who are you gonna be?
I'm just kind of running the meeting. I'll be
Okay.
Gil Porterfield, who's just basically overseeing it and presenting the original plan. And then you guys kind of
Okay.
can pick different department heads or, like I said, basically anybody that stuck out to you within the reading, if you want to be that person.
I think I'll be, Miles Haddock, the CFO.
Okay. That
So
works.
that's
I'll write you down as
CFO Miles. You got that
Miles
one?
here.
Okay, I can be Bill Purcell. That's another one on there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not to be
Spencer?
confused with Bill Parcells.
Yeah. Not the former coach.
All right, Chris, who do you want to be tonight?
I'll take Ruth Gibson.
All right, joining me in the little gender switch there. Okay. I see another little one. Okay, so I'm gonna.
Okay.
You happy, dude?
Oh,
No, go ahead.
hello.
He is happy. He likes screens. Every time he sees any screen.
Oh, I hear you. I used to nanny for a family, and they had, when I first started, Maggie was 4 months old, and like you put her in her little bouncy seat, and she literally, if you stood in front of her and a screen, she would like lean around you to see the screen. I'm like, really? You're 4 months.
They are so smart. My daughter, she already knows how to work the phone, the TV. She can
Oh,
turn
yeah.
it on, turn the DVD player on.
Oh,
My daughter can navigate to whatever show she wants in Netflix on my
Yeah.
wife's phone. It's ridiculous. It's a
That
good
is
show. It's not a bad show.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting my paper here. So go ahead and take about like 5-10 minutes or so, kind of read over you guys' part, and then we can go ahead and start going over the meeting. So just let me know when you guys feel like you're ready.
Sounds good.
Yep. You got it.
Dude. You want diaper change?
You guys think you're about ready? Need some more time, or?
I think I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, sounds good. Well, go ahead and start. So all of you were in the previous meeting where we discussed our compensation plan that we've been going over, and you all brought up some great concerns and different issues that you had. So we wanted to take the time to have a meeting to discuss all the issues we had and try and brainstorm some new ideas for either changes, alterations, or just kind of a complete overhaul of the plan and see what we can come up with that would feel best fit the image and ideals of the company. So feel free, anyone that wants to jump in and kind of start giving a little bit of ideas or talk about things that they think should be changed. The floor is yours. It doesn't necessarily have to be a specific new plan. It can also be specific issues with the current plan that maybe you feel need to be changed or adjusted to better suit the company.
I'll go. So my characters, back up here. He seems kind of against this plan. I think he looks at the plan as the old plan as a fixed cost with less than 4% tied to like overall performance as like the ideal plan, and he doesn't want. He claims that there isn't time, or I guess you should say, I claim that there isn't time to do this type of teamwork where you go out after work and get to know people like that. Whereas I think it should kind of just be at work, and you know, that incentive to work with people is great, but if you're trying to bring in an outside work aspect to it, there's just really not time for that, or probably not the desire to go that way. We should do it at work, or, you know, and we should look at payroll as a fixed expense instead of like a variable cost fixed to the you know, growth of the company or whatnot. You could do bonuses that way or something maybe, but I think that's what he's thinking here.
Okay. Do you feel like, I guess, where in the daily schedule would you propose kind of putting in that time to try and build up those other teams that maybe are struggling that are having an effect on your department as well?
Good question. Trying to think of how he would think of it here. I just think that there's too many people that can't and won't join in on this process of teamwork building.
Okay.
So if they can't be fixed, well, then they just need to quit themselves, kind of.
Okay, so more of a lack of desire to participate in it.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate
So
the feedback.
I think he thinks that if all this extra money that's being spent on training and meetings and getting to know each other could be better spent by actually putting it towards those groups that are struggling to get products to me or to you know, to other groups. So maybe instead of this whole new pay schedule, just this money you're going to spend on training, invest it on working with those groups and let my group do its thing, I guess.
Okay, so put the money towards groups that are struggling. Got it. Does anyone else have any comments on that or disagreements, agreements?
Not really.
I think it might be a bit of a good idea, you know, to take some of that money, maybe like where you were mentioning at the end there, Spencer, and put that towards those departments that, you know, haven't really caught on yet. Because one thing that my character is, you know, vehemently pointing out is that there's plenty of people that haven't caught on to the culture of the company, but my department is one that has, and we're doing great. I mean, so why not put some of that money towards, you know, people who haven't caught on yet? But at the same time, I feel like my character would definitely say, I want a piece of that money too, though, for what we have done.
Right. Kind of a question of how do you appropriately reward those who are catching on and who are moving forward with it while also motivating those people who are struggling.
Voluntary severance. That's what it says. That's what my character thinks. So just voice
Yeah.
right. If you I know mandate and voluntary don't go in the same sense, but if you institute a voluntary severance where he claims a 15% across the board for the entire workforce, and say each department needs to do this, so leave it up to if the employees don't want to do it, then the employers or the supervisors of each department will have to kind of pick those people that aren't willing to get on board with the culture or are struggling and make them voluntarily quit.
So basically kind of, instead of as an incentive, basically use it to weed out those people who are going to participate and those who aren't, and kind of let the ones who aren't going to participate fall by the wayside in a sense on their own.
Yeah, and kind of just leave the strong ones standing.
Okay.
It's really hard to think of somebody else. I'm like, I wouldn't do that. It's like, okay, no, this is okay, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, I picked the CFO because I like finance. I'm like, okay, this is going to be the easiest one I can think along the same lines as.
Yeah,
but
no,
no,
it's hard.
what I really like, so my character's for it. One of the biggest reasons, he says like that as prices go up and bottom line goes down, and this company really focuses on pay as a fixed cost. The new plan, 4% of the employee's pay is tied to the overall company performance. Huge chunk of it, especially when you consider upper management, like 60% of their pay is based on how well the company performs. So they definitely have that bigger incentive to make sure the company does well. But I think it definitely incentivizes them, being like, okay, I can make this much. I can work a little bit harder and help everyone around me, and we make sure we get everything done and make sure that we succeed. And then I get this much more. And he feels that we should increase the 4% to something probably like 10 to 20% of the pay being variable and based on the performance of the company and the team and the product.
I definitely see the point that, when prices are down or when the company is doing poorly and not as profitable, that, people all throughout the company need to, in a sense, take responsibility for that. And why not, have that be part of their pay to incentivize them to, when something's going wrong, maybe it is something that's out of their control, but that's something that helps them to search for ways that, maybe different ways of thinking about it that are within their control that can have an effect on the bottom line. So I can certainly see the need for making them more accountable than a simple go in, do my job, get my paycheck, go home.
Something I was thinking of, in the mind of Ruth here, is that my biggest beef with this is probably the amount of flexible pay there. At the top, it's saying 75% of former pay is going to be fixed, and then that 25% flexible former pay is going to be determined by these other factors here. And my biggest thing is, with the changes made in the company, pretty much everybody's on salary now, is what it looks like. I think I read that somewhere in the case. And for the past year, my entire team has been working Saturdays trying to improve our division. We've put in this time on salary, so no overtime pay. And since we put in all this time and our quality has shot up so much, and we've increased our speed. You know, what used to take us 3 months to get out, and now it takes us 3 weeks. Huge improvement there. If you to mark that in a percentage, that's some pretty good numbers. So I think for my department, one thing that I might want to change about the plan is that maybe making a little bit, I guess changing the ratio a little bit, where a higher percentage is more fixed and a smaller percentage is variable. So I feel like I'm not being punished for all the Saturdays of work that I put in.
And it's certainly a fair point to bring up. Go ahead, Andrew. You looked like you had something you were
Yeah,
gonna add.
I was just thinking, one thing that I think would really help this, especially like what Chris was saying, they've been working Saturdays, their salary. There should be a way, a system that they should have in place to track salary hours, and then those who have over, like, say 60, 70 hours a week, give a little bit of a bonus to, because I don't know, they're working sometimes twice as hard as everyone else, and they're only making salary, and it can feel kind of unfair sometimes. I think that if you do that along with this plan, that it will boost the morale of the salary employees, which in turn will boost the morale of the hourly employees, which is just going to be a good thing overall. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
No, actually, that's exactly. I was going to mention something about a possible bonus for, looking at how many hours and then comparing that to the success of that team. And clearly, Chris, in your character's case, those both match up. That the hours are put in and that the success is there as well. You guys have made leaps and bounds of progress in your department. And so I think that's a great idea to include some kind of bonus that allows you to feel like your work isn't being overlooked or wasted. And so I think that's certainly a fair idea to work with.
I had an idea here for my character. Like what Bill would do. I know the main thing is to tie more of the pay to, similar to like what upper management or the executives get, a higher percentage of it to performance. But my counter argument for that would be, my character's role saying that yes, a higher percentage of their pay is tied to the performance, but they also have a greater control over for the overall performance of the company. They're making these upper level decisions that are bringing in money or not bringing in. I mean, we're talking about significant money here. Whereas my team in the polymer department, that we're not dealing with such large quantities. We can't deal with the overall quality of the company. We can only deal with what's been brought to us and that development process. So if we're tying more to it, why should we have the same amount tied to us if we have less control over the whole process?
I think you make certainly a good point, and I think that's why the idea of maybe having a separate bonus that is not directly tied to, the where with the compensation, it's the percentage of, you have the fixed and you have the variable, where if you look at it as, say, like a year-end bonus, where it's, you add in those factors of how many extra hours are those salary workers, putting in, and looking at the overall success. I think that's something that keeps it from being directly tied to the variable cost and is more of a year-end bonus based on performance. And you just add that in as a factor of, hours worked and compare that to the amount of success that the department's having.
So would that also affect, say, those maybe in my department that don't want to work together as a team? Would the people that do want to work and are unable to work together in teams or to do these extracurricular things, or that won't get on board, are they going to be penalized for that?
In terms of the percentage of compensation, or in terms of like when we were talking about a possible bonus tied in at, like, say, end of year?
I would say both. Both, I think, yeah.
Okay. I think there are certain areas where you do have to unfortunately work with people that maybe aren't willing to put in, the right amount of, I guess, energy into the project. And I think, at least from my understanding of the reading, seemed like a large portion of it was trying to help others get on board with that plan. And that was certainly an issue that a lot of the people brought up was, I'm on board and I'm doing my part and I'm getting dragged down by other people.
Mhm.
And so I'm definitely open to consideration as far as like if those people need to be let go if they're just not moving forward with the company plan, or maybe leave that more specifically up to the department heads of how they feel like those people are affecting their other team members.
As I think for my character, his main concern is people that can't and won't get on board, dragging down the work or of the department or of those that are really want to get on board or buy into this new program.
All right. And it brings up a point of it's something that needs, obviously it's harder to fix with people that are already there, but it's certainly something that needs to be addressed in new hires as far as, if this is the approach that the company is going to be taking, they need to make sure that that's something that's very apparent when they're looking for new team members, that they're going to be, in a sense, team players willing to work with the other departments. I did have a quick question. I don't think, unless I'm remembering the character's name wrong, that anyone picked the character that talked about the research scientists that kind of said that they didn't really want to work with other people. And I was curious kind of your thoughts on that do you think there are specific departments that, this idea of teamwork doesn't necessarily apply as importantly?
Was that Sid?
Yeah.
I believe
No.
so. Yeah, he talked about the scientists that he kind of said, they spend too much time teaching Chem 101 to people who don't understand what they're doing in the lab.
Mhm.
I was kind of curious your guys' thoughts on that.
I've always been a huge fan of cross training. It is really hard, and especially when you get people transferring and things like that. I think really in the end it's worth it. I think that he's got the right idea, but is thinking about it the wrong way. I don't know. I would kind of have training classes for everyone that's going to be interacting with them at all, or is interested in that. That way, if someone transfers in, they already know what's going on, and they can just slip right into that role. But yeah, I think that it's a good thing, but there's different ways to combat the issues that he's having.
I like that idea of kind of making it any teams that are going to be directly interacting with them, put that as part of their training, so that way the research scientists themselves don't feel like they have to, in a sense, waste their time explaining all of that. That's a great idea.
Here, let me just, I agree with the cross-training person, but let me just give a counter argument.
Sure. No, that's what makes the discussions good.
I think that what Sid is trying to get at is that these are the scientists that are working for him are they're highly experienced and highly educated, and they're very specialized in what they do. And cross training them or teaching them other things is you're kind of going backwards instead of, your main focus is R&D, and if they're trying to learn too many other things or teach other people other things, they can't really focus on their specialty. Whereas if you allow them, and yes, teamwork probably is great for a lot of things, but it might not be great in this instance here, where you need them to work individually, and you may make the argument that teamwork can work to help share their ideas or whatnot, but you need them to work individually in what they are uniquely specialized in order to expedite the process and to, really make significant progress in R&D instead of a teaching mode. They're actually in discovery and learning and building mode.
Right. I definitely can see the point of
And-
that where they feel like they're wasting their time, but to play devil's advocate a little bit, I do think that being in research and development and then getting a better sense of, I believe there's one girl, I think Chris, it might have been the character that
Yep.
that talked about, when they do get that cross training and when they're able to see what their products are then used for, I think they can get maybe a better sense of what they need to be looking for in their research and development because they see how it's used, they see what the customer demands are, and they just see so many different aspects to what they're researching that I think it broadens just their overall insights into what they're looking for as they're doing that research.
And something that we were thinking about at work recently was that, well, right now we're hiring for next semester. And one thing that we looked at as a common trait with a lot of our employees that are doing really well is that they like to be the master of what they do. And kind of along the lines of what you were saying, Carolyn, it was that, as a scientist, you can't be the master of what you do if what you do has no use. I mean, you can be great at something, but there's something that Ruth pointed out here is that the skills of those scientists are valuable only to the degree that our team, Ruth's team, succeeds in serving the customers. Because if we can't implement it, if that cross training doesn't happen, then, well, and there's just an aspect missing here that is preventing the company from functioning as it potentially could. It's trying to think of the words here. Opportunity cost a little bit. You could focus the scientists purely on their inventions and figuring things out, but they can be just that much more effective if they do understand the other side of it as well. So just a thought.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it made me think of, there are thousands of patents that are really never being used because, that people come up with these ideas that people, the general public, doesn't have a use for. And they might be a great idea, but if it doesn't fill a need or bring value to a particular company, what's the purpose?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have anything else as far as like ideas or things that you want to change that you think your characters would want to have discussed? Pretty well covered it.
I think so.
I thought it was really good.
Okay, so we go ahead and we can kind of drop out of the character mode, I guess. And then we're supposed to just kind of review what our personal opinions on the compensation plan are and any potential problems that we would personally have if we were working for that company.
I definitely have a big issue with them. I mean, so you're going to get paid the same amount of money, but really they're dropping your pay and then the rest of it's a bonus, where if you don't get that money or if you don't get that performance, then you don't get that money. And so that would be something for me, especially as I'm on a tight budget. I've got stuff planned. I have every dollar accounted for. And when they change something like that, it's a huge dent in my family life and like my financial future, I guess. I like the idea. I think they're going about it the wrong way. I think that they should pay us the same and then have a little bit extra as a bonus, or maybe drop it just a little bit and do that, have more of as a bonus so it goes over what we're being paid. But I think keeping it at the same level is really going to keep the morale down.
That actually was one of my biggest issues. It made me think of one of the readings, I can't remember who it was that we did, I think just last week, about motivation, where it talked about that compensation should be high enough that it's not even a factor for motivation. And I feel like that really came into play here, that they're, in a sense, trying to use it they have a particular purpose of wanting to build teamwork, which I agree with. And I think, in the sense of cross training and understanding how the different departments coexist, I think is a great idea. But I feel like they're trying to use what should be just regular compensation as a motivating factor. And I think that can certainly backfire in a lot of ways.
I agree with what both of you said. That was exactly what I thought. At first, though, I thought, oh, that would be a great idea. Give myself a chance to maybe like stand out and make even more money. But it's just, then I thought of that from last week's reading also, where those people in India where they're paying them more money to see if they could get a higher improvement, and it didn't work.
They did like the least productive job.
That was really surprising to me, and so. Then I was like, okay, yeah, maybe that's probably not going to work, and you really should just have that compensation at a just level, so that way they're not thinking about that, and they can really focus more on that teamwork aspect, that cross training aspect. They're not worried about, is what I'm doing right now going to affect how much money I get at the end of the year? It is what it is, and then they can really just focus on building their team and improving.
Yeah, Chris, any thoughts?
Absolutely. A lot of echoing of what you guys said, but it really got to me, because what I was thinking is that I personally will never work in a job that's going to give me variable pay. Like any kind of sales position with commission or something like that, it's automatically out of the question. I just won't do it. I need that guarantee.
Oh, absolutely.
I know plenty of good workers who are absolutely fabulous, who, would absolutely, without a doubt, get that extra 25% and get up to their regular pay again just by their regular work ethics. But the company not trusting me enough to do that, or making that, flexible in their words, it just throws a complete negative view on the whole situation for me, and I would be one of the ones that would voluntarily leave. I'll be honest.
Actually brought up a point that was mentioned in there. I don't know, Spencer, if it was your character or who it was, but that mentioned that he was afraid of losing particular research scientists that wouldn't even consider the job based on that new aspect of compensation, because they felt like it couldn't be competitive in hiring.
I think that might have been Sid.
Yeah, that was Sid.
Yeah. And I think that's certainly something to consider, that, when you're trying to sell someone on this form of compensation, you have to be able to sell that within the interview, or you're going to be losing really good talent.
Yeah, and then I also feel that the flexible pay part, that 25%, it's a little subjective. It's not always quantifiable. I mean, you can try quality, yes, and unit cost. A lot of times, your department is unique for one aspect. You don't have the total control of it, like the executives. Back to that old argument that the executives do over it. So if your speed to market is being slowed down because another department can't get you things quick enough, now you're being penalized for it, and everyone down the line gets penalized for it. You're right. It can be very subjective, and I don't know who's deciding this. When I look at it and be like, well, that wasn't your fault, so you don't get penalized, but you do get penalized. And so, I see it as not being, I hate to use the word just, but I don't see it as being just and fair for everybody.
Yeah. Well, and then it also, I can't remember which of, they brought in at the end of the case, it was like 4 different people that were specialized in compensation, and one of them talked about how then you're going to get people that will do what they need to do simply to reach those numbers, but they aren't truly I guess meeting the goals that the company intends them to. In the sense, they're just playing the system to make sure that they get their take-home pay, which, I mean, in a sense, I can't blame them, because you have families, you have responsibilities, you can't afford to not have that correct compensation. So,
and then there's people on the opposite end, like Ruth's team, that are going way above and beyond, and they're not getting any more forms of compensation other than what they've already can max out at. So what incentive does it give for them to continue doing all that extra work that they've been doing.
Yeah, I agree that, I feel like compensation is just something that you don't mess with when it comes to people. I mean, that's people's livelihoods there. There are ways to motivate people and there are ways to push certain agendas within a company. I just feel like compensation isn't one of those areas.
Mhm.
Let's see. So we got just a little bit left here. I don't want to keep you guys too long. Just kind of one last overall question of what you guys feel like was the most important thing that you learned about, compensation, about cross training. Just anything from the discussion that you felt like really stuck out for you.
Sorry, can you repeat that? You were breaking up.
Oh, sure. Just one last question kind of before we wrap up here was just if each one of you want to go through and list one particular thing that stuck out to you that you learned from the discussion.
I'll go ahead and jump in right now. Something that I learned from this that, but you don't really think of it till you're forced to, is that when I was reading this case, I kind of put myself into each of their shoes just a little bit, and I realized, for a good part of it, I agree with points in every single one of these if I were in that department. So it's really something to think about when you can believe that you're absolutely right. And, from your point of view, from people's in your department's view, you will be. Not necessarily right for the entire company. What's right for a department isn't always the best for everyone.
That's awesome. Yeah, certainly you have different departments that all make up the one company, and you have to make sure. It's actually a discussion I was having just a little bit ago. Somebody was talking about how, we should get rid of the electoral college. I'm like, oh, no.
That was a good today. I read that too, yeah.
And I pointed out, the very small pockets of places that basically would decide every presidential election because they're highly populated. And, it made me think of that, you have this entire company that you're looking out for, and you can't base it just on one or two departments. That's a great point.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that was a big thing that hit me today too, and from the reading here the last couple of days. And the other thing I would say, what's it here? Is that if you want to encourage teamwork or cross training or unity or company culture, you can't or you shouldn't tie it to base compensation. If you want to have it as something like an above and beyond bonus, and I don't know if that's always feasible depending on how the business is doing, then maybe, but you shouldn't tie it to the pay. You should tie it, kind of what we talked about last week about maybe tie those goals towards something else, like we talked about like a banquet or something. I think that could also apply here too. Instead of just saying, hey, you don't do it or someone else doesn't do it in your department, then you're all getting a pay cut. To look at it in a more positive light and say, hey, we want you to do this so we can add this extra. That way they feel, if we go above and beyond, we get above and beyond pay, right? Instead of saying, you got to do what you haven't been doing just to get what you've already been getting. So.
I think explaining it in the proper way, not just being pay, you're going to get less pay, and if you do good, then you'll get more pay. I think that you definitely have to choose your words very carefully, and that it's going to be something that's going to motivate and your team and make them happier. Because if they're not happy, everything's going to go downhill from there. But we'll never take a job that is variable pay based on performance. I would be way too stressed out, and I think everyone here would be. But interesting how something, just a little change like that, can affect you in your work. But yeah, that was what I learned about today.
Awesome. So that about wraps it up for the case. Is there any questions or anything we needed to go over before we call it a night?
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
I think so.
And who is Spencer? Are you it next week?
Yeah.
I'm the week after. Okay.
Oh, quick question on that.
Yeah.
Once we've done the two discussion leader, like once we've done the papers, we still lead and then we just don't turn in a paper on the third time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
That works.
So, yeah. Guys, we've
I know,
got
I'm really happy about that.
a month. We've got a month left of school. Well, like
Oh.
5 weeks.
So close. So close.
And then I graduate. I'm so excited.
I just have to do an internship, but I'm done with classes.
I got my internship
Awesome.
approved for this semester and everything, so I'm registered and everything like that. Now I've just got to, and I'm good.
Sweet.
Attaboy.
You're lucky.
Awesome.
Okay.
It's been a long, hard road. So I'm taking 19 credits right now, so it's fun.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I'm at
So-
17 and I'm like, oh,
does
ready to be done with this semester.
Is
What was
Tuesday
that?
gonna be?
Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tuesday works for me for next
Yeah,
week.
works good for me too.
Works for me too. You're kind of breaking up there, Andrew. Sorry.
Okay.
We're all
All
like, what?
Okay. Well, next week then.
Alrighty. See y'all then.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Alrighty.
But.
Have a good one.